M2, Joe's M2, and it's been sensational. Did you first time back in it in how long?
Yeah, so I was off the road for 10 months thanks to a slight misshift from me on track, which over-revved the engine, bent the exhaust valves, and so I've only had it back about 3 or 4 weeks, but I've probably driven it. This is probably the third time I've driven it, so it was a good excuse to get out of the garage. And
it's definitely working now. It's a lot more raw than your M3, which is saying something because that's a special car.
Yep.
Yeah, talk me through how you're finding it since it's come back.
Yeah, mate, I love it. Like you said, it's even though it's only a generation older than F Series compared to the G Series M3, it feels sort of 3 generations older.
Yeah.
In a good and a bad way, but it's just so much rawer, and it's just so fun and so engaging. And I don't know, I always find I've got a stupid grin on my face when I'm driving this car, even at normal speeds.
You can't not smile in this. That's the thing, and you're completely right when you said because it was hard low ride speed.
Yes.
But once we're flowing,
Yep.
50 mile an hour, 60 mile an hour.
Yep.
It feels good.
It does, and it's set up quite aggressively at the moment, geometry wise.
It's like a roller coaster.
Yeah. Well, I've got so about 3 degrees of negative camber on the front axle, which means unfortunately on roads like around where I live, you do get a lot of tram lining and stuff. But I guess that's the whole thing with track cars, and something I've discovered in 22 when I built this car.
Yeah.
With Swift Performance, we spent a lot of time trial and error. We kind of went too far with some things, especially suspension, because I wanted a good track car that was still friendly and fun on road.
Yeah.
And as I'm sure you know, we found out over that time, you can't really do both. You can build a very capable and fast road car, but it's still not going to be brilliant on track, or vice versa. If it's really good on track, it tends to be a little bit hardcore on the road. So we've kind of been playing with that balance for the past 18 months.
You have to kind of have that compromise, isn't it? And I guess that's where your M3 Touring hits the balance on absolutely everything.
Yes.
You can't go super full-on aerial atom sort of level, but you kind of want it to work. Like it's chucking it down with rain now.
Yep.
You want to have a roof. You want to have some sort of refinement. This is still a M2. It's still a 2 Series. It's still it's got enough.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, you certainly obviously no back seats.
Yep.
Cage.
Yep.
Seats, buckets, loads of suspension. Yeah, I mean it's all documented on Joe's channel. You're obviously familiar with Joe's channel.
Yeah, I've done a whole sort of build series and then rebuild series after I back up the engine, excuse my language. And yeah, I mean it's been really interesting for me because I wouldn't call myself I'm definitely not a mechanic. I'm definitely not even that mechanically minded when it comes to cars, but I learned a lot during the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And also appreciate, especially with the engine out most of last year, how much is in a modern car, you know, like in the engine bay, the electronics, all of the components, aside from the actual lump itself. You know, there's just something, it's just crazy, you know, something like your Golf R, there's so much stuff in that nose, it's just insane. And so when something like, you know, you bend a few exhaust valves, which is thankfully all we did,
Yep.
to get to figure that out and find out what I'd done, we had to unfortunately strip the engine out and strip the engine down.
Yep.
But there's just so many components, and it really does make you appreciate sort of what, you know, a modern sports car especially is like. It's,
You can take it for granted, isn't it? You think, oh, you just hop in it and it does its job, but there's so much technicalities that come into it,
Yep.
particularly like the evolution of cars nowadays, and we're not going to get too much better than what you're even sitting in now in terms of petrol wise.
No.
In terms of just it's just got everything. It's got so much presence as well.
Yep.
I love it. I'm blown away. This is just so raw. 6-speed.
6-speed manual, yeah. I mean, it's never going to be a time attack car because of the manual aspect of it, I guess, like with your car. You know,
Does it have like rev matching and stuff?
It does, yeah. So, but when you turn everything, unfortunately on this one, on the new G Series M2, you can turn rev matching on and off through the computer. Whereas on this one, it's on when you're in any mode. We started off with traction off, but now I'm in my preset M1 button, which is road. In MGM, it's on, but when you turn everything off, it turns off. So you either have everything off, which is what I have on track, so then you're manually heel and towing, or when we're on the road, you've got it on. So, but it's quite a nice little rev match.
For me, I'm useless at heel and towing. I mean, my Golf R doesn't have rev matching, and I just have to do it really slow, or just really a pathetic version of making sure the revs are up and stuff. Yep. But it's nice to have. It is,
and I think pedal placement, also engine sound, and it makes it a bit easier. But I think this one, yeah, everything. I've had this car since new, so what's that? 2019, 2018.
Is this one of the longest cars you've ever owned?
It probably is the longest car I've ever owned. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it must be coming up to 5 years now, and I love it because of that.
Every gear change, there's something like it's same when I get on the manual as well. It's like it generally just completely transforms a car.
Yes,
it just so transforms a car.
It does. It just involves. I know we go on about driver involvement all the time, but
even now, it doesn't matter if you're going like 20 mile an hour. It's like it's just a whole part of the experience.
It is, and it is far. I mean, I think because it's raw, and unfortunately, it's very slippery outside. But we got cup twos on, so we can't really use any of the power. But it's. I took it out on track a week ago, I think almost to the day, and I hadn't had it out on track for a while, and I've driven a lot of powerful fast cars in that time, and I thought, am I gonna, what's it gonna feel like? And honestly, it feels really fast. Like its in gear acceleration it'll do indicate 156 down the back of bed and the main straight Bedford, which for a manual M2 with relatively stock power, I've got so I've got like a stage 1 map on here, but I'm running not stage 1, which is over 500 horsepower. I'm running the CS, which is 460. Because I think as a manual, again, that's all you need. Like 460 horsepower in this, it's a perfect sweet spot of power and torque. It's 700 newtons as well, which is a lot of torque, which is kind of what you feel. I mean, you put it in fourth now.
Of course, you can get a lot of torque out of this engine, isn't it? It's very
a lot of torque. Like that's 1500 RPM. You feel that torque coming in fourth. Shit. It's pretty quick.
Yeah, so that was like 2,500 to 3,500 revs.
No, 1,500. Yeah.
Flipping heck. Yeah, it just picks up.
Yeah, I mean that's like 1,500 now. Put your foot down, wait a couple of seconds, and then the turbo spool, and you've got loads of pull. And yeah, no, it's great. Suspension, it's got full Bilstein plus sport coilovers.
The best really.
Yeah, I mean they're very, very good. I think KW or K3s, I think they're called, are very, very good as well. Are probably better for road.
Yeah, but Bilstein KWs, the ones I've heard of, and like Öhlins. Those are kind of the three. I don't think you can go wrong.
3 big guns. Yeah, no, definitely. It's got an Venturi intake as well.
Similar to your M3.
Similar to M3. This one's got a Remus axle back system, so it's still running OPFs, which is something. I mean, as a track build, just in terms of weight alone, it's something I should have got rid of a while ago. But the problem is, we have in the UK, and I think a lot of people have in most countries these days, is noise limits, and this is just below the sort of minimum or maximum noise limit that Bedford and various other tracks. As soon as I take those OPFs out, then I'll need to muffle that sound with something. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. It's like I want to get rid of them, but at the same time they're keeping that noise down a bit.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Froxton's supposed to be quite good for noise limits. I've gone around there a couple of times, but then it's just you don't want to just be limited to so few. They get it at the Nürburgring, don't they? You can't.
Yeah, even the Nürburgring. Yeah,
I mean, even though you're in the middle of a forest and you've got noise restrictions, you do wonder.
It's crazy.
Oh, we're back at Silverstone again.
Back at Silverstone,
I'll stick it on camera. I think, Joe, you're living my dream life. I mean, I know I do my YouTube stuff, and I'm grateful for the cars I get to drive as well on my channel. Yeah. But this is just mega.
It is nice being here. There's a lot of, obviously, all these buildings.
Is that so? Lotus is here, isn't it?
Yeah. Aston Martin. In fact, we'll do a little drive by the Aston Martin setup. The Aston Martin setup is ridiculous. I mean,
this is their main HQ, isn't it? Because they've got their Aston Martin track in the middle, haven't they? I've gone around that in an M2 Comp actually.
Yeah. I think that is sponsored by them now, isn't it?
I think they use, well, they certainly use it for testing.
Yeah, the Valkyrie was going around there loads when they were sort of.
Well, we heard something mega on the M3 touring video we had. Oh, Cayman. See, I'm just like, I'd be pointing everything out. It's so special.
Yeah, I think we can get to it down this way.
It's a YouTuber's dream. Automotive.
Yeah.
Enthusiasts.
Yeah, there's like KTM. Oh, not in this industrial estate. There's like a big KTM racing team set up, and I mean, there's all sorts. But yeah, Aston. So this is all part of the. I mean, it's still being developed and built.
Oh, the M3 Touring.
Is it?
Yeah, there's a silver one just in front of that white van.
Oh. Don't have a nose. Oh yeah, look at that. I can
looks
spot lovely.
73 plate.
Yeah, that looks great, doesn't it?
Stock. You can see the.
Really nice. Yeah, it's on Michelin's. Very good.
You can get like a frozen colour paint on that, can't you?
You can. Frozen pure grey, I think, is one of them. There's a few they do, but yeah, that's very nice.
Was that that wasn't the same as your blue M3 Touring, was it? Because it's almost like a frozen paint colour.
Yeah, my M3 Touring, my other one was Dravit Grey, but my blue Portimao blue, you can get frozen Portimao, which is really cool. I don't think I could ever own a frozen. I'm terrible at cleaning and maintaining my cars paint wise and cleanliness.
I'd be petrified. Any bit of bird dirt or something, you have to be straight. Not that I'm not on it anyway, but even more so. I was going to say, careful of
there's a bit of
holes,
here, isn't it? So
you're on 18s on this, or is
18s? Yeah.
So that's again better for hopefully stopping any buckling or anything. A little bit stronger, tougher.
Exactly, sidewall. So this is all Aston, and here I think that might be Lawrence Stroll's office up there in the corner with the sofas outside.
Of course, they're doing pretty sensationally well.
Yep.
Under him.
It's massive, isn't it?
Next.
I'm going to go right here.
What a place. Yeah, so if you're not subscribed to your channel, if you're petrol heads, you've got to subscribe to Joe. You just sort of thing, just come out for a drive and just enjoy it.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, like when you said, when we sort of arranged the thing, I was like, and this morning I was like, waving the weather. It's like, oh, let's just go out for. It's just a nice excuse to go out for a drive and talk about cars. I mean, I love, I'm 45 in a couple of months, but I still get excited about driving. I still get excited about driving my car that I've had for 5 years.
Yeah.
It's a shame we're not going to. It's just so wet and slippery out there, but you get an idea of the drag. It's crazy, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
That's with MDM on, like, doesn't really work. This roundabout's really actually quite greasy in this sort of weather. I've seen quite a few people crash just here.
Oh,
for whatever reason.
The pre-built fence, maybe?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's part of it, but yeah, it's almost like there's like a constant oil slick, or maybe there's some trees there that. But yeah, I've come through there before and gone not even that fast, and I'm just thinking, oh wow, what's going on here? There's literally zero grip.
There's great roads for me coming up here as well. They even say massive signs like adverse camber and everything, which just feels so good on the car.
Yeah.
This is really special because once you get going, you don't really notice too much of the hard ride.
Yes, that's what I mean. As soon as you pick the pace up a little bit, it feels great. And on track, you're smashing into Bedford curbs and stuff, but it just deals with it all so well, like really, really well. And it's just it's a really good. It talks to you, it tells you everything. The steering feel's not too bad. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact the suspension, and got rid of a lot of the main rubber bushes. It's all solid bushes now, but you can feel it pulling left and right.
Feels expensive. You've got to be expensive suspension, expensive coilovers.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it on like my fast forwards as well. You can get some coilovers this for like 10 months.
Yes.
That's a long time.
It is a long time, and it's just been sitting. I had a storage unit until very recently, which I got rid of because now it's in my garage.
Yeah.
That was costing a bit of money every month, and
looks good in your garage around the Michelin tyres and everything.
Yes.
It's a proper
next to my rowing machine that I'm on religiously most mornings now, and it's nice because I kind of look at that, and this, unlike the M3 Touring that is heavily financed, and even though it's my car, it's not my car, I don't own it, a finance company does. This car I do own, and although it's not worth, you know, the 80-90 grand that the M3 might be, it's still it's my baby, and I love it. And I mean, there was a point where I was like, okay, well, I should keep all the stuff because if it goes back to stock. But just recently, I've sold the seats in it. I've sold anything that was worth of any value. So now I'm literally like, this is coming to my grave with me, or I'll sell it. If I need to sell it, I'll sell it as it is, because I think it's quite a tasteful build. It's not like a, you know, you could still use it as a car, which is the whole point of it.
Yeah, I keep it as is, particularly the amount of labour and work that went into it. I've thought about that before when I had my Fiesta ST200, and that was fully kitted out. We spent a lot of money on it, 15 grand or something on it, and I had all the spare parts, like stock parts. In the end, it's like sell it as it is. Same with the Focus RS Revo Stage 2. I was like, you know, and I thought about putting it back to stock at times because my Golf R is fully stock, nothing's ever changed on it. They don't half make them fun. They don't like just any sort of modifications. It dials a car up to something, to another level. Absolutely another level. Like both my cars are manual as well. They can shift. And you gotta know how to drive. Whoa! Skipping out. That camera would have got that. That was good. You've got to know how to drive. You got to know how to drive.
You do, and it keeps you like I'm constantly alert in this car. Whereas you're probably looking at the footage of me in the M3 Touring, and I'm sitting there like an armchair. It's very chilled. Okay, to get to that point where I'm really focusing in the M3 Touring, you're going very fast because it's so capable. Whereas in this car, okay, a lot to do with the setup, the fact that it feels very. You're constantly sitting there, and you've almost got to have both hands on the wheel just in case it pulls. You know, like
suck you into one of these kind of divots or something. But I know you can talk and drive. You've done YouTube for enough. Actually, you know what? You remind me, and hopefully this is good praise. I actually had a time with Tiff Nadell in an M3, the latest generation. He could just talk for days sideways, 130 miles an hour, and I'm just like, it's actually on my channel, but it's like, it's
Tiff is awesome, isn't he? Tiff is
he must be over 70 now.
He's incredible. I mean, he hasn't slowed down, has he? He's a real character as well. So that's basically M2 Club Sport.
11,000 miles as well. So
so it's not many. I mean, for the age of it, it's not many at all. You know,
does this class as having a new engine then? Is it that? What is it? Just bits and parts?
Just the exhaust. So we just replaced the exhaust valves, and we replaced the bearings with some aftermarket, much better quality bearings. But that's pretty much it. So I mean, no, definitely not a new engine. But it definitely feels, and I'm sure it's psychological, definitely feels stronger than before it went. So I don't know. They did redo the head and a few other bits, so maybe it is a bit tighter. It's maybe it's running a bit better.
It feels proper flying. I think a lot of the German build quality as well. They're built solid. They're built to last.
They are.
And they're built to do 155 as well. They're not like, you know, I love my fast forwards, but you feel like you do 155 once and it just blow up. So it's like, that is basically it. You'd be taking it home. These can kind of cope with them.
Yeah, you get a sense the German cars that, I mean, they're built. If you buy a Golf R, and they're designed to sit at 150 on the autobahn, and You're not meant to sit there and go, oh God, this feels a bit, you know, and that's the difference, I think. Yeah.
You're not going to stop smiling. I'll be smiling all the way home.
Yeah. Well, look, Bib's been back there smiling. He's been smiling the whole time. He just sits there constantly. It's almost like he's not real because he's just smiling all the time. But,
it's brilliant.
Yeah. No, it's
and actually, you say, because this is on Cup 2s, isn't it?
Yeah, Cup 2s. Yeah. As soon as they've got, I mean, when we first set off, they were really cold. But as soon as Cups, I mean, there's a bit of a misconception around Cups. Is that as soon as Cups have got a little bit of temperature in them, providing there's no massive standing water, that they suffer really badly in standing water because they just don't have the grooves. And so they can't expel that water. But if it's just damp or wet, then it's fine. But it's the compound as well, because they're designed to run in at really high temperatures. When they're really cold, they turn like a slick tyre, like that slick tyre that's in my garage. It's off a GT3 Cup car. Like that tyre, when it's cold, it feels like plastic, and that's the offset. It's very good when it's got temperature in it, but it's deadly, as we all know. We've seen F1 cars on cold slicks, and they're just useless. They're completely useless.
The tyres are everything. Whether you've got a modified car, a performance car, they change absolutely everything. Everything. It's so crucial, and like for me as well, hypersensitive. I recently changed my tyres. Just the whole car changed.
The whole car, and I mean, I've always gone on about it way before I became a Michelin brand ambassador.
I remember a lot of your content. You would have all those tyres even if
I'd have,
sponsored.
Yeah, the difference. I used to spend a fortune on them. Now I'm very lucky that I get given most of them. And but I think, like you said, I know like current M3, M4 for instance, and the M2. It's a bit of a tyre lottery as to what you get. They're all designed to run on the Michelin PS4S, which is Star Mark, which is a BMW homologated tyre, which is interesting in its own sense. And Jonathan Benson at Tyre Reviews, who's a good friend of mine, someone you know as well. He's done a video talking about that and actually comparing a Star Mark to a non-Star Mark. And there's a big difference. You know, BMW and Michelin spend a lot of money making a PS4S specific for rear-wheel drive or a G Series M car, and you can notice you can feel the difference when you do it back to back. And I think they spend all this money homologating a tyre for a specific car, and although like the Pirelli that comes on the Pirelli's the other tyre that you can get in the UK on, and to be fair, hats off to Pirelli, like the sidewall in a Pirelli P0, the current one, is very stiff, and so the actual steering feel and turning arguably is better on the Pirelli, but that's kind of as far as I'm concerned, that's about the only positive. The negative is you get a really stiff ride and you feel every single bump in the road, and and therefore the car feels unsettled all the time. So you lose ride comfort, and you get more tyre roar, and wet weather grip is the big one for me, especially in greasy conditions like this. Like PS4S over a P0 is night and day. It's and you don't really want that in your daily. You don't want to get in it and go, oh, it's edgy. You want to get in it and just feel,
And that's the sad thing, really, isn't it? I mean, we're like mid-early April 2024.
Yeah.
It's still pretty cold. It's still pretty wet.
Yeah.
What is that one tyre? And I've kind of just ran it with just one. I've never sort of changed it. But yeah, those moments when you can get them. You love your track days and stuff. That's where it's going to work, really, particularly in this country.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
This is mega.
Yeah. Well, we're going to
M1 355.
Oh yeah, it is too.
I haven't driven one of those. What do you?
Mineral grey. I don't know what colour they. It's a nice grey.
We got it on camera.
We've got a lot of grey going on here.
Yeah,
I mean, UK.
grey and black is good for resale. Good
it
for
is.
They work in the UK. They're always up for sale. Get that on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, never really, because I always wondered if you would get an M135i new generation and go for it, modifying it.
I like them. I don't love them.
Right. I like the seats.
Yes, the seats, the interior, they're practical. I mean, compared to the old one, they're so much more practical, so much more comfortable. The interior but they don't give me enough excitement. I think they're almost a bit too rounded off, too good. They made, and I think the engine B48's a little bit soulless. It's not like an EA 888.
No,
it just doesn't. It's very effective. It's efficient. And it's fast and it's torquey, but it's just a bit soulless.
it's not a straight six.
And it's and that's.
I mean, could you imagine that in that little package?
Oh.
Brilliant, wouldn't it?
I mean,
with the Golf R, I've always wanted them to put the 2.5 litre 5-cylinder in.
Yes.
They did test, and then the Dieselgate cost them
of
on
course.
that.
Yeah.
But no, something like that. He's checking yours out. Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I think that's when BMW went a little bit different on their hot hatch.
Yes, and I think they had to, in a way. It was like
it was pretty overkill anyway.
It was ridiculous.
One series with all of that.
I still want to, if I could afford to, I'd have an M135 or an M140.
Yeah.
Because I still think they are one of the most ridiculous cars ever.
They can do so much, and like, I mean, you proved it. So you can get your mountain bike in the back.
Yep.
You can have a dog in the back. You can have passengers in the back.
Yep.
You could get 40 mpg. You know, you're cruising in it.
Yeah.
And yet you got that noise. You got the sound.
Yep.
Good value at the moment as well.
Really good value.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think the sequel to that was always going to be a challenge. And they could never have put another 6-pot in that car just because of the layout of it, because it's essentially a mini platform, isn't it? And but I mean, it was never going to happen. Unlike, let's say, a Golf R or something, it's always had that 2 litre in it, and so you're not going to be disappointed if it continues to have that in it. Whereas dropping 2 cylinders, that was kind of its party piece, wasn't it?
It's similar to when like Porsche went to the 718. They sort of dropped to, once you'd know what it was like before, it's quite hard to forget that.
Yep.
It's very, very hard.
Yeah. And that really affected sales, although Porsche probably wouldn't ever admit it openly, but you can tell by even like the cars like the GTS, they're like, we'll just put the 4 litre back in it.
Yeah, we'll just stick this 4 litre, and suddenly that 4 litre does really, really well.
Yeah, the only person to buy a 4-cylinder 718 was Petrolped, I think. So
of course he's got the GTS.
Yeah, it's a lovely car. I wind him up about his 4-cylinder Porsche all the time. It is. Well, ironically, I think the 2.5 litre
is quicker.
I think it's quicker. It's more torquey. It's more efficient, and and it's lighter as well. It's a chunk lighter. So actually, the 2.5 is probably the better car, the better engine. But what would you have? I'd have the 4 litre just because the sound of it.
Summary: this car's amazing. Like, it felt like a roller coaster on the road. I'm gonna have to get my mind together of what like the capabilities of this.
Well, hopefully we'll have to, next time I'm on track, you need to come and jump in and come up for some passenger laps, because it is, I mean, now it's got everything on it, because we finished the build stage at the end of 22, and then then we decided, because it was winter, we'll put it away for a few months, and then early 23 we'll do a track day and see what it's like. Early 23, 3 laps in is when I misshifted it, so I never really got to experience the finished build until a couple of weeks, a week ago, and because I've got Team Sherma kinematics on the rear axle, and there's loads of little bits and pieces, and like you mentioned, the smaller 18-inch wheels, the reason we go on smaller is because we can run then bigger rubber. So we've got 2 9.5 section cups on the back, 2 6.5 in the front. So all these small changes have amounted to a car that's really, really capable when you push it hard. But hopefully we'll do it one day in a bit better weather, and
definitely. But yeah, thank you so much, Joe, and this is like a mega experience. And I guess any questions, let us know in the comments. I'll try to let you know what this was like as a passenger, because it was mega. And definitely catch up soon.
Cool
video.
Thank you, mate.
Great stuff, Joe.
Thanks for coming over, and good to see you.
Great stuff. Cheers, guys.